and to culture wars. Have you noticed the sound of flapping lately, you know? Chickens coming home to roost. So-called progressive policies on global warming. Here comes a chicken. Sky-high power prices. Progressive policies on immigration, mass immigration. Oh look, a shortage of houses. Progressive policies in schools. Just today, you know, another chicken incoming. The OECD now says Australia's schools are the least favourable for discipline in OECD countries. Least favourable for discipline. And our standards also are falling as well, despite all the billions extra we've been putting in. And now in the most progressive, so-called progressive state in the country, the whole roost is coming into land. I mean, Victoria, its socialist left government has spent like socialists, really, like drunken socialist sailors. I'm not saying that Dan Andrews is a drinker. The lawyers maybe put that in. Not saying that he's a drinker on the beers. Victoria's now got a debt bigger than New South Wales and Queensland's combined. How about that? And now Premier Daniel Andrews is the hide to demand that the rest of Australia bail him out. He says he's in talks with the Albanese government for some cash to tide him over. Joining me is the very prudent Rowan Dean, the suave and penny-pinching editor of the excellent Spectator Australia and co-host of Outsiders on Sky News on Sundays at 9 a.m. Rowan Dean, have you got pennies for a Victorian beggar? Or should I say, could you please buy a drunk another drink?
Well, the problem is, Andrew, that these chickens coming home to roost are Victorian chickens launched from Victoria, but now coming home to roost throughout the rest of Australia. It was Margaret Thatcher who said that socialists always eventually run out of other people's money. And Dan Andrews put a new twist on that. Dan Andrews is now going to run out of other people's money. So the people who never had anything to do with the choice of whether to vote for him or not in New South Wales, Queensland and throughout the rest of mainland Australia are now going to be stuck with this bill because, of course, we have Labor states and federal governments across the entire nation apart from Tasmania. And what a perfect time to be a Labor Premier, particularly a broke Labor Premier like Dan Andrews. $115 billion in debt. It's going to rise to $165 billion. The Victorian Liberals have actually finally got off their backsides and done some work and worked out that there's around $30 billion of pure waste that the Andrews government are responsible for. If you go to Victoria, and well, Andrew, you're in Victoria, but I was down there in Melbourne recently, you would think for the largesse that the Victorian taxpayers have spent, that you would see a beautiful, glistening Melbourne. In fact, I hate to tell it to you, but it's not. And it's a bit of an embarrassment as an international city, I got to tell you. It's filthy. It's, homeless on the streets, not being looked after. So I don't know where all the money is spent, presumably on heavy union fees for heavy infrastructure projects, lots of public servants getting pay rises. That's where all the money is going. You can keep on doing that, as Andrews has shown, for decade after decade, or certainly for term after term, and the voters keep rewarding you. He's a terrific politician, but he's absolutely lousy at money. You wouldn't trust him with buying a round of drinks at the pub. The problem now is, first of all, we had during COVID, we had over 50%, I think it was, I'd have to check the exact figures, but certainly the gargantuan proportion of JobKeeper and JobSeeker went to Victoria. So Australians, the rest of Australia is bailing out Victoria already during COVID, and now for the absolute, talk about gaslighting or chutzpah or whatever expression you want, now Andrews is turning around and blaming COVID for having to be bailed out again by the Australian taxpayer. We bailed you out once. How many times, Victoria, does the rest of the country have to bail you clowns out? You voted for this bloke. I hate to say it, Andrew. You know, the words that come very, very reluctantly from my lips are, I told you so. Well, I told you so, Victoria. You've gone and voted this idiot in. You're going to pay, but please, now you're asking us to pay, and you've got a Labor federal government who will probably say, oh, yeah, OK, let's bail our mate Dan Andrews out. This is a tragic day for Australia, for mainland Australia.
I know, but it's going to be wonderful to see two Labor governments starting to argue about money. It's like that joke that the Belgians tell about the the Dutch, how do you make copper wire? Throw a couple of pennies into a room full of Dutchmen. That's what the Labour Party will be like.
Are we allowed to laugh? Andrew, you racist. That was I'm sorry. I'm out of here. I'm off this show. Never coming on again. No way. You crack anti-Dutch jokes like that. Who do you think you are, Mr.
I've got an excuse. So I can say these things. Listen, the Herald Sun, I've been worried about, apparently a wobbling at the knees that I'm hearing about in News Corp, which employs us, of course, about The Voice, right, whether we should support it or not. And, of course, you hear these rumours about James Murdoch wanting to come in and take over, the whole company and show how it really should be run. Bad Fox News, bad Sky News, no more of this stuff. Well, today the Herald Sun ran an online poll on The Voice. Now, I know, like I say, News Corp's flirting with the idea of backing it, but the readers today seem quite the other way, Rowan. More than 22,000 votes on one story. 73% of them said no. Online polls, of course, are near worthless, but also seems from readers' comments under news stories about The Voice, again and again and again, readers of Murdoch newspapers are pretty clearly against. You'd have to be a brave outfit to, barrack for something that your readers so hate.
Well, or an outfit run by people who are out of touch with everyday Australians. This has all the makings. I'm so, as I said on my editorial on Outsiders and in The Spectator Australia, congratulations to Peter Dutton. This is what we need. We need an opposition leader who opposes, because the best decisions are made in any democracy by having an argument, by thrashing out the pros and cons.
Yes.
So the idea that you have, a consensus, this idea that, we've agreed, The Voice is going to happen, it's a yes vote. No. People need to make up their own mind. They need to be given the information from both sides. They need debates. At The Spectator Australia, we'll be having debates about the pros and cons. Personally, I'm absolutely behind the no vote for all the reasons we've spelt out on this program. But let's have the debate. Let's hear the facts from both sides. Now, the problem is, I'm sorry, I hate to say this about News Corp, they do have form. We saw them rush to back net zero when Scott Morrison toddled off to rub shoulders with Boris Johnson at COP26. That was a disaster. The idea of pushing net zero now, many Australians are going, why on earth are we doing this? And worse, around the world, particularly in Europe, people are, even in Germany, green Germany, they're going, no. They've had a referendum which has said slow down on this net zero malarkey. So it's very, very dangerous. In a referendum should be individuals, every individual making up their own mind. Yes, it's great. We now have two political parties opposed to each other. That's terrific. My bet, Andrew, is that this will be the making of the Liberals, this will be the making of Peter Dutton, and this will be the end to the Anthony Albanese regime much quicker than it should have been. And I guarantee you there are people within Labor right now going, Albo stuffed this up. He completely stuffed it up, because you now have the information is going to come out. Australians are going to realise what a disaster. Why on earth are we tinkering with the Constitution? What's in it for us? And of course, there's only all that's in it is for 24 individuals who are going to go on the biggest gravy train ever invented, made of marble and gold, driving around Canberra, telling the rest of us what we can do with every aspect of our lives. The no vote must win. It's absolutely crucial for the future of Australia, and I think the Herald Sun, if they try and back the yes vote, they will learn that they've, much of the paper will be best off using to wrap fish and chips, I guess.
Well, I don't know that the Herald Sun is thinking of doing that. I'm thinking a little bit wider than that, but we shall see. And we should always point out the 24 people on The Voice will not be elected. They will be selected. They will be activists. That's it, Rowan Dean. Thank you so much for your time.